Being a teacher in Texas was so incredibly hard for me, and I think that's because of my experience being a teacher in California. For background, I was a teacher in California for nearly 10 years, and then I moved to Texas and I got a teaching job where I wrote my letter of resignation a month in and stayed about 4 months of the school year. It was a rough adjustment, to say the least. Whenever I've shared that this transition was tough, I get the comment, "Didn't you know?" Yes, I knew the pay would be less. Yes, I knew there would be no union, but I didn't know the true impact of that until I experienced it. I did my research, went to the best school I could in the area we were moving, got the job. Went from making in the 80s to making in the 40s. Half of my salary was cut. I didn't know the insurance that was going to be offered was so incredibly horrible that it wouldn't even give me enough money to pay for my kids' childcare. So I declined the insurance and went through my husband's work. But I knew those two things, right? Salary, no union. But without the union, they added on a lot of extra tasks never expected to do in California. I will say having 20 students is really nice compared to the 35 plus students that I had in California. That was the only perk. In Texas, the workload was far greater. School day was literally an hour and a half longer with students. So I had an hour and a half more time with students each day, which totals 7.5 hours more with students each week, which is literally like adding an extra work day. These hours had nothing to do with the prep that I had to do on my own. You would think after being a teacher for 10 years, I'd have an easy time adjusting. I'm still teaching elementary school, but that wasn't the case. I was not provided any training for any of the curriculum. Science, math, reading, SEL, you name it, any program, it was all new to me. I had to learn the content, of course, just like you're always expected to do, but the systems are important because there are requirements within that system of what you have to have displayed on your wall and how you have to report information based on that curriculum. There's no option to just do your own thing and teach how I've taught before. I wasn't trained, so I had to do that on my own time. I had to take a reading course that's required by the state of Texas for the science of reading. So it was like a full college course that I had to take online on my own time, unpaid. I was drowning in work, working longer days, taking work home, going in on the weekends. The final straw was feeling unsafe at school. During this year, some sort of promise in Texas that every state would be visited by a government official to see if the schools were locked. Safety precaution because there's so many, you know. The anxiety of knowing that someone was going to try to come on campus in street clothes and we're supposed to not let anyone in our classroom and report if someone's here, like just the anxiety of having to be on watch. Like, you don't need to surprise a teacher. We have enough surprises in a day. And speaking of surprises, we had an active shooter drill, which I thought was the real deal. They kind of like to surprise you. They have an ambiguous message saying drill will be coming up. I didn't read the email. I was out sick. Cue the active shooter drill. I thought it was my last day. It was awful. Life flashed before your eyes kind of moment. And I turned in my letter of resignation that week. And it may not be so bad for Texas teachers who only know Texas teaching. For those who have lived in another state and come to the state of Texas to teach, it might be a little earth-shattering. And I doubt Texas is the worst, so maybe for some it's a positive experience. I had another teacher who was from another state, I think it was Michigan, and they said, "This more work than you're used to?" Because this is more work than I'm used to. So I know I definitely wasn't alone in it being a rocky transition.